violence, competition, betrayal. Super Mario has spent years as the optimistic face of Nintendo, but if he had a dark side, it would most definitely be the underground video game fight club, otherwise known as Super Smash Bros. After months of anticipation, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has arrived for the Nintendo Switch, and the world of violent fighters has only grown. The game encompasses everything Smash Bros. Set out to be in the first place. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Nearly 20 years ago, the first Super Smash Bros. Started it all, changing the world of fighting games as we know it, and our perception of Mario forever. The year is 1999. You break out the great Nintendo 64 console. A game changer in the industry and major upgrade from the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64 featured true 3D graphics and allowed Mario and his pals to expand well beyond his 2D adventures. The console was important for the release and beginning of franchises like Mario 64, Mario Party, and first-person shooters like GoldenEye. But nothing may have been more impactful than Super Smash Bros. When looking at Super Smash Bros. Today, the 1999 game feels like a shell when compared to newer releases, but the groundwork was there for the future of the franchise. Like many other Nintendo franchises, Mario served as the main character and anchor for the first Super Smash Bros., but it wasn't always supposed to be this way. The game was originally developed as a generic fighter entitled Dragon King: The Fighting Game. The series was the brainchild of director and developer Masahiro Sakurai, who had previously created the Kirby series before diving into Smash Bros. Sakurai is a major influence on each new game and has been an integral part of the Smash Bros. Evolution over the years. As development continued on the game, elements were changed and the brilliant decision to add Nintendo characters into the mix was made. In newer versions of Smash Bros., there are literally dozens and dozens of fighters to battle against, but the first Super Smash Bros. Began with a roster of 8, and could be expanded to 12 with 4 unlockable roster entries. Even with the limited roster, the mix of Nintendo franchises was unprecedented. Mario could take on Pikachu, Link could slash his way through Luigi, Kirby could swallow up Star Fox. While these crossovers are the norm now, the novelty alone was enough to attract players to the fighting game, and it was a great selling point for gamers. In 1999, some of the most popular fighting franchises included Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat. The fight mechanics of those games were pretty simple. You just fight an opponent until you completely drain their health meter. Super Smash Bros. Presented a different type of fighting system, one that felt more like a battle royale than one-on-one combat. The goal in the game is to knock your enemies off the stage, and the more damage that was incurred, the higher their percentage will go and the easier it would be to eliminate them. Along with the basic fighting system, there were numerous ways to play the game. The time mode allowed players to accumulate points for earning knockouts, while other players lost points if they were knocked out. In stock mode, players start out with a specific amount of lives, and the last player left standing is declared the winner. Nintendo could have presented the basic fighting game with these options and it would have still been popular, but they provided a deep game with a ton of options. There's the traditional training mode where players learn strategies for winning, a collection of mini-games, and a single-player adventure mode filled with all types of challenges. While multiplayer fighting was the main sell of the game, Nintendo ensured hours of action could be done in single-player mode as well. Besides the core fighting, there were several combat aspects still used in the series today. One of them is the Pokeball. When deployed in a match, a Pokemon would emerge and perform attacks on enemies. Other items include the Donkey Kong Hammer, the Home Run Bat, and of course the Bob-omb, a great item and fun way to get through sudden death when they start raining from the sky. And then there are the stages. Expanded throughout the years, the original collection of 8 stages plus 1 unlockable stage really helped create the strategy and excitement going into a match. Stages would feature different platforms, designs, and ledge elements which could be vital to both offensive and defensive strategies. The original Super Smash Bros. Was actually supposed to be even bigger and better than it already was. Plans and designs were made for Bowser, Mewtwo, and King Dedede, but time constraints led to their removal from the game. So how would the release of Super Smash Bros. Fare? For critics, the game was a hit, especially with the multiplayer modes, and the players responded the same way. Selling over 5.5 million copies worldwide, the game was the 5th best-selling Nintendo 64 title, with only The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye 007, Mario Kart 64, and Super Mario 64 above it. That is some pretty good company. A new Mario franchise was born, but it would take a whole new console to see it evolve into something truly spectacular. So how do you top a great new entry in the multiplayer fighting genre? You create the top-selling GameCube game of all time. Nintendo not only made massive improvements over the original Super Smash Bros., but Super Smash Bros. Melee is still considered one of the greatest all-around fighting games today. No wonder it sold over 7 million copies. Clearly, 12 fighters wasn't enough when the first Super Smash Bros. Came out, especially when one of them was the little-known Ness from Earthbound. The GameCube offered up even better graphics and improved gaming technology. Not only did the fighting visuals in Super Smash Bros. Melee look better, but the little box could handle a lot more game content. A key addition to the game was Bowser, who really should have been included in the original. Increasing the roster was a natural point of expanding the game, and Nintendo really delivered with Melee. With 26 characters on the roster, which is more than double the roster of the original Smash Bros., the more significant additions to the roster included Princess Peach, Mewtwo, Zelda, and the Ice Climbers. And then there's Pichu. The pre-evolved form of Pikachu is one of the playable characters in the game, but the only reason to ever play with him was if you wanted to lose. The first in a series of supposed joke characters, Pichu is so bad, it deals damage to itself when executing electric moves in battle. The expansion of players also included an expansion of stages with everything from snowy mountains to floating ships and great battlegrounds like Pokemon Stadium. While there are plenty of modes single players can dig into, the core of Melee and future of the series really lies in the multiplayer battles. Only having use of 4 controllers didn't just limit the game to 4 players thanks to the tournament mode. Up to 64 players could be featured in the tournament, with players joining in on different rounds as needed. Achievements in Melee were kept track of through a system known as trophies. Each character had 3 trophies which could be unlocked through playing different modes of the game, a feature which would only expand and improve in future sequels. Super Smash Bros. Melee wasn't just a great multiplayer game for friends on a Saturday night. The fighting style and battle royale elimination concept also started making its way around professional gaming tournaments. Cash prizes, trophies, and sponsorships were all on the line. Super Smash Bros. Melee truly opened up the world of Smash into professional gaming. And Melee also helped usher in the infamous use of tiered lists for Smash Bros. Fighters. Controversial all the way around, these lists helped categorize the way characters were used for matches and which ones had significant advantages when it came to battles. Along with Melee, a tier list was developed for the first Smash Bros. And often used for tournament rankings. For Melee, Star Fox and Falco are often near the top of the list, while Pichu and Kirby sit near the bottom, with the latter being a shock for many players getting their hands on the sequel. In the original game, Kirby was one of the most powerful characters before he was nerfed and slowed down into a giant lightweight pink puff of nothing for the sequel. Even so, some tournament players refused to acknowledge the tier lists. Different fighting strategies would rank the characters in different orders, and if people follow the tier lists, then only those top players would get used, making the unused characters not used for their full potential or fully analyzed for skills in combat. With so many complications and serious gamers taking notice, Smash Bros. Was now more than just a simple arcade brawler, and things became even more serious with the release of the Wii. When the Nintendo Wii was released in 2006, it only increased the potential for a future Super Smash Bros. Game. Online accessibility, the use of Miis, and multiple controller styles all led to major upgrades and changes. Players didn't have to wait long for a new version of the game either. In 2008, Super Smash Bros. Brawl made its way to the console, but whether it was an upgrade over Melee was a huge debate. First, the hardware changes. The innovations on the Wii led to many motion-enabled games like Wii Sports or Mario Party 8, but for Brawl, motion controls were not a part of the equation. No gimmick needed here. Of course, players could activate the custom control Shake Smash when using a Wii Remote and Nunchuck combo, but it's not a favorable feature. Instead, Nintendo really focused on our comfort. There were 4 different controller options: the default Wii Remote and Nunchuck, the Wii Remote used horizontally, the Wii Classic controller, or you could even break out an old GameCube controller, which was the best option. The competitive world of Smash Bros. Gaming just got even more serious with the controller options and button mapping ability to help increase speed and comfort while playing. But the Brawl Pro scene was always lacking with the annoying tripping feature and an overpowered character that we'll get into later. On the software side, the game itself included an expanded roster. Sure, Dr. Mario and Mewtwo were eliminated from the action, but there were numerous players in their place, including the inclusion of the first ever third-party characters. Thanks to the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games crossover, fans saw the potential of adding Sonic the Hedgehog to Smash Bros. And their wish came true. Now the Blue Speedster could take on Mario and his pals in a lot more than just a friendly competition. Sonic was here to stay in the Smash Bros. Franchise. Even more surprising than Sonic was the inclusion inclusion of Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series. Joining the world of fighting games was nothing new for the Snake character, as he once appeared in the Japanese-only release of Dream Mix TV World Fighters. As for Nintendo characters, new additions to the roster included Wario, Pokemon Trainer, Wolf from the Star Fox series, Lucas from Earthbound, Toon Link, and Diddy Kong. Of course, there was even Meta Knight. The famed villain/hero from the Kirby series, Meta Knight may have been one of the more controversial additions to the game, mainly because of his dominance in professional tournament play. When used by professional players, Meta Knight is nearly unstoppable in match, and statistics prove it. Not only does the character appear at the top of tier lists on many websites, but the character is so good in the game he's been banned over the years by specific tournaments. Through various forms of research and data gathering, professional player John Numbers determined that Meta Knight was the chosen character for nearly 50% of Smash Bros. Tournament victories. With an uneven playing field, some tournaments chose to ban the character from active play and even up the odds for other characters. Of course, this led to plenty of controversy, and the game is seldom used in tournaments today. The Meta Knight discussion may not be as heated as it used to be, but still draws arguments between players and has an emphasis on fairness. Along with the huge roster of characters came the ability to use even more of your Nintendo favorites through the introduction of assist trophies. Randomly appearing in a match, an assist trophy brings another character into the game to help attack the enemies. Classic characters like Lakitu, Little Mac, and the Hammer Bros would deliver quick attacks. Solid Snake's video game foe Gray Fox would slash at enemies. Shadow the Hedgehog showcased his moves, and even a Nintendog would happily trot across the screen to block the view for opponents. Then there's Waluigi. Even though Wario got a spot on the main character list, Waluigi remains trapped in assist trophy purgatory, where he comes stomping in any chance he gets, hoping one day to eventually earn the main roster spot. While Brawl itself had many improvements over Melee, some players weren't satisfied and used the Wii to their advantage. Thanks to full disc sizes, an integrated SD card slot, USB ports, and internet access, modding blew up in a big way on the console. Players could hack easier, create homebrew games, and adjust their games without the limitations of a Game Shark or Game Genie. Thus, the unofficial Super Smash Bros. Release, Project M, was born. Based upon the Brawl build, Project M introduced a number of upgrades and changes on top of the original game. One of the biggest changes? The speed. The drop-ins and character speed from Melee to Brawl slowed down significantly, and increasing the speeds helped the game return to the same fighting style and format as Melee. But those wouldn't be the only changes. Cosmetically, the game features a number of alternate costumes, including new designs for Link, Meta Knight, and Captain Falcon. Mewtwo was famously removed from Brawl, but added to Project M along with Roy from the Fire Emblem series. Project M wasn't just a fun project for some gamers, it snowballed into a big thing and became a prominent part of tournament play across the globe. As more players got their hands on the modded version of Brawl, they saw the improvements and advantages this title would create. Of course, it was never recognized by Nintendo. Either way, Brawl was getting used by millions of players in both the original form and through Project M. In all, Brawl was a massive success, piggybacking on the success of the Wii and selling over 13 million copies, more than both the original game and Melee. Despite two newer Nintendo consoles getting released, Brawl is still a popular choice for gamers and one of the main reasons the Wii stays connected to home entertainment centers. So, the Super Smash franchise has seemingly done it all. Huge rosters of characters, extremely competitive gameplay, the ability to play online, and the introduction of third-party franchises. What could be next? Going handheld. Simply dubbed Super Smash Bros. And commonly referred to as Super Smash Bros. 4, the series took a huge step in 2014 by getting released on the Nintendo 3DS. Multiplayer capabilities and graphics had really expanded in the world of handheld consoles, allowing the game to get released without any major drawbacks. The graphics are more cel-shaded than console counterparts, but Nintendo was really able to pack in a majority of the features within the handheld game. Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS feels like a complete game and true adaptation of other versions. At the same time as the 3DS release, Super Smash Bros. Was also released for the Wii U console. Much like the Wii U had a number of innovations and features upon its release in 2012. A portable controller with a separate screen, all new motion controls, and upgraded graphics were just some of the highlights. Even though the Wii U was considered a massive disappointment and pales in comparison to the success of the Switch, Super Smash Bros. Remains a successful title. This time around, there were some obvious choices, including Pac-Man, Mega Man, and the boxer Little Mac. New third-party Third-party crossovers came from the Final Fantasy series with the inclusion of Cloud as DLC content, and they even cross over with the Street Fighter series by bringing Ryu into the mix. Nintendo also decided to dig deep, allowing players to battle with the hunting dog and duck from Duck Hunt, the Wii Fit Trainer, and the villager from Animal Crossing. In all, Smash 4 featured 49 different characters, making tier lists a little more complicated this time around. People will also debate the tiers and rankings of players, but some of the top fighters for the Wii U version included Cloud, Bayonetta, and Diddy Kong. Then there's poor Jigglypuff, right at the bottom of the list, and one of the worst characters to use in Smash 4. In-person multiplayer expanded as well thanks to the Wii U console capabilities. Classic controllers, Wii U remotes, and GameCube controllers can all be mixed for the 8-player Smash, a fast-paced brawl where no CPU players are needed. Another big innovation to the game was the introduction of amiibo figures. Back in 2014, the toys-to-life gaming craze was alive and well. Skylanders, Disney Infinity, and LEGO Dimensions led the pack, and Nintendo wouldn't be left out of the mix. The amiibo figures were more than just Nintendo collectibles. Each figure could unlock exclusive content in the game, save fight stats, and be carried and used on other Wii U consoles. Who can forget the extended Smash Bros. Amiibo commercials featuring a young child training with his amiibo to win? Figures were released for a majority of characters, expanding the cash cow of the game and giving more for players to work on and achieve. The figures also worked for the 3DS version of the game. A number of new assist trophies were introduced this time around. Some of the highlights include the ghosts from Pac-Man, Chain Chomp, and Dark Samus. Unfortunately, no matter how good Smash 4 was, the Wii U didn't take off like Nintendo wanted. Sales only reached a little over 5 million copies, paling in comparison to both Melee and Brawl. Meanwhile, on the 3DS, Smash 4 sold over 9 million copies, and is still selling thanks to the overarching success of the console. Thankfully, Smash Bros. Wouldn't die off as quick as the Wii U did. Nintendo went back to the drawing board, took what they loved about the Wii U, eliminated the clutter, and delivered a massive success with the Nintendo Switch. The hybrid console could convert from a television to a touchscreen tablet in seconds, and Nintendo breathed life into the company again. So what was next for the Super Smash Bros. On a new hybrid console? The Ultimate version, and Nintendo has really gone all out this time around. In the months leading up to the release of any Super Smash Bros. Game, players anxiously look forward to the roster announcements. The full list of playable characters? Well, they made things pretty simple this time around. Every single player from the past Smash Bros. Games would be included. Pichu's back! The Duck Hunt dog would fight another day. Mewtwo is ready for battle. Young Link would finally make a return after being ousted by Toon Link in Brawl. But that wasn't all. With a built-in roster already full of characters, Smash Bros. Ultimate reaches into the depths of fighting history to present some crazy newcomers. Let's start with one of the classic fighting games of all time, Street Fighter. Ken is joining Ryu this time around for more fighting action. The Splatoon Inkling is going to learn the difference between true fighting and paint-splattered hijinks. Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong may find some competition when their foe King K. Rool joins the fray. Then there's our heroes from the Castlevania series joining the mix, Simon and Richter. Despite fan pleas and plenty of rumors, Waluigi remains in his post as an assist trophy. There are plenty of new assist trophies as well. Street Fighter's Guile will punch opponents out of the way. Bomberman will pop in to drop bombs. Knuckles joins Shadow the Hedgehog to help expand the Sonic franchise, and The Legend of Zelda's massive moon from Majora's Mask will wreak all kinds of havoc. When Nintendo titled the game Ultimate, they really meant it in every way possible. There are going to be over 100 different battle stages, adding hours and hours of game content to get through them all. The replayability of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be a game changer for online play, tournament play, and the aches you feel in your hand after long gaming sessions. By including everything in the past and introducing new concepts for the future, the title makes you feel like you have to own the Switch, and almost renders previous versions obsolete. Just don't go packing away your GameCube just yet. Just like the Wii and Wii U, you could use your GameCube controller to play Ultimate on Switch, but this time, like with the Wii U, you'll need an adapter. Along with using a single Joy-Con or a Pro controller, the classic GameCube controller may be the best way to go. And don't worry, new GameCube controllers are here. Nintendo's already released them. All those amiibo you collected from the last version, they're also compatible with the game, along with a whole new series of figures. While other Toys to Life series have died off, the amiibo lives on, and it's all thanks to Nintendo's great world building and use of characters. The new Nintendo Switch Online will also change the way the game is played online, giving players the ability to create tournaments, rankings, and build true worldwide competition. So what's the legacy of Super Smash Bros.? The new unique fighting style and crossover potential has been copied by many over the years, but the franchise truly stands out on its own. It not only belongs alongside the great fighters like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but surpasses them with innovation, competitive gameplay, and their roster of characters. With the availability of various single-player and multiplayer game modes along with the classic fighting options, Super Smash Bros. Has built a legacy all its own. Just like people still going back to the classic Super Mario Bros., Super Smash Bros. Will be played and honored for years to come as a truly competitive fighting game. And thanks to the Nintendo Switch, it only has room to grow. And that was the history of the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. What's your favorite Smash Bros. Game? Who do you main? Do you think it's the greatest fighting game series ever? Let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more Super Smash Bros. Content. Thanks for watching!